This is a play. You need transformational actors again. It's a You need 3 actors who can play 60 different plays. This play has been done around the world, and it doesn't get done enough in this country because the New York production was a very small production. I brought the production from Gloucester Stage down to New York to an off-Broadway theater, and it wasn't enough. I was in the middle of writing My Old Lady, and I was in Germany. I had 11 plays running in different plays running in Germany. My German agent called me up and said, "You've really got to come over here." And I said, "Well, invite me and I'll come over." And he said, "Israel, I've invited you 3 different times, and now you really..." And I went, I really thought about that, and I thought, oh, I have a problem. I didn't really know that I had that problem. Of course, I was born in 1939, which wasn't a great year for Jews. And anyway, off I went to Germany to see my 11 plays. And the first play that I was to see was in Bonn, and it was Park Your Car in Harvard Yard in Germany. And I was set to do a national television interview and a hookup backstage immediately after the performance, because I had 11 plays in different cities around Germany, and I was going to do this kind of Stations of the Cross tour. And there's a scene in the play in which it's a play about an old school teacher who's the toughest high school teacher in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and he hires a housekeeper to take care of him at the end of his life because he wants to die at home, and seems to have forgotten that he not only failed her and her husband, he failed her mother and father as well, and her recently dead husband, I should say. And there's a scene in the play when the old guy talks about being a Yankee Jew, having this kind of Yankee work ethic and this Jewish guilt, and how it's just too much. And I'm sitting in the audience watching the play in a language that I don't speak, with a little speech in my pocket that I wrote saying, with my dictionary, saying I'm happy to be in Germany. And I'm thinking, how are they going to translate that scene? How is anybody going to understand in another language how that? And they get to the scene and they don't do it at all. It never happens. And so after the performance, I'm just about to go on camera backstage, and I say to the actress, thinking that it was just too difficult to translate, I said, "You never did that scene where he talks about being a Yankee Jew." And she said, "Oh, you can't have Jews on stage in Germany. It doesn't smell good." And she touched her nose. And I said, "Excuse me." And she said, "You can't have Jews." She spoke some English. And she said, "You can't have Jews on stage in Germany. It doesn't smell good." And she said it again and touched her nose again. And so I spent my tour of Germany just saying to people, oh, I go on camera and I leave the speech in my pocket, and I hear myself. It's like an outer body experience saying, being in your country, hearing your language spoken is an act of heroism for me. It reminds me of when I was 6 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, in my bed in Wakefield, Massachusetts, thinking Germans were going to come through the windows and kill me and my family. So that was not what anybody wanted to hear. It was just like I made a bad smell in the room. It was awful. And I had no plan. It just like came out. Anyway, so I spent the whole tour of Germany asking people, why would she say that? Because it was interesting to me that she said that. And it's not that long ago. And when I got to Berlin, and I got answers like, well, maybe people think if there are Jewish characters on stage, it's going to be a play about the Holocaust, but it's not a play about the Holocaust. It was all unacceptable. So when I got to Berlin, I stayed in the home of Miriam Müller, whose father is quite a famous German playwright. And she was named, they're not Jewish, but she was named Miriam, which they consider to be a Jewish name. It's to symbolically replace a dead Jewish child. And her French boyfriend Arnaud was staying there as well, and later her husband, and I speak French, and so we stayed up all night talking. And Arnaud said things like Miriam never met a single Jewish kid growing up because there were none, And then when she went to translation school in London, was the first time she met young Jewish people her age. And but more importantly, he said whenever she traveled in the world with her dad, people would say, "Where are you from?" And she would say Germany, and they would go, "Ooh," like she made a very big mistake. So 6 o'clock in the morning, I haven't slept for God knows how many hours. I go out running as I do every day, and it's a misty, horrible morning in Berlin. And I'm running in we were in Charlottenburg, and I'm running around the Schlosspark. And it's foggy and rainy and awful. And I'm thinking, if this generation, Miriam's generation, has never met a single Jewish person, and they're kind of castigated for being German, one day this generation will say, these abstract Jews are really creating a big pain in the ass for me, and it could all start again. Anyway, I'm just reporting the thought that I had. And I'm in this funny little park, and on the poubelle, on the little waste baskets, they were this pastel green. Somebody had drawn a swastika with a magic marker on all of them. And I hear dogs, and a pack of dogs ran through, and I thought, boy, if I put that in a movie, nobody would believe it. It's so shabbily theatrical. In that moment, I had the idea for this play. I mean, people ask questions about a writer's process. Samuel Beckett once said to me, a writer who explains his writing is like a snail explaining its shell. And it's exactly the truth. I have no idea where this came from. But I had the idea that the German chancellor would say, we can't live with the guilt that we feel. Therefore, I'm inviting 6 million Jews to come back to Germany, and we'll give them citizenship and give them jobs. And the play follows one little Jewish family, out of work, dock worker from Gloucester, Massachusetts, goes to Bremerhaven and replaces a German dock worker. And it creates a microcosm that's exactly what the world was like, what the German world was like when Hitler was allowed to come into power, how the Jews were blamed for. Anyway, I knew that I couldn't possibly just write that play like a naturalistic play, because nobody wants to see a play about the Holocaust anyway. So I came up with the idea that I'd have 3 actors play everything. It was so hard to write this play because I had to remember where everybody was at and how they could change into costume and become those characters. And I went back and I talked with Arno and Miriam, and I thought it was a really good idea. And I stopped writing My Old Lady. I wrote the first draft of this very quickly, and then I went back to My Old Lady. And in Gloucester that summer, I put on 2 new plays. I tried out both plays each for 3 weeks. And this play has been just an enormous success in smaller theaters really around the world. It was announced for German production something like 20 times and then taken down, and it finally did play with success in Germany. So I just think with what's going on in the world again in Europe right now, with huge anti-Semitic parades in Paris, it just breaks my heart. This is a good time to start thinking about this play again, and not just thinking about it as a play about anti-Semitism, but thinking about it as a play about racism and how, I mean, at my age, if you were to ask me, what is the dumbest thing you've seen in your life, it's racism. I've never seen anything dumber than that, because when we meet people who are from other places and other cultures, it's such an opportunity to widen our horizon, particular horizon. And it's so insane that people reject it and say, no, I want nothing new in my life. I don't want to meet anybody I don't understand. My God, a language I don't speak, that's just hideous. So that's Lebensraum.